We're set to round up today's top stories in the world of science with CTV science and tech expert Dan Riskin. Dan, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Dan, good to see you. Okay, so let's start with this. We talked about this at the end of last week. Especially when you work on morning television, we're always looking for ways to get better night's rest and sleep. But researchers now say monitoring the clock, checking it before your bedtime or during your sleep is really a bad idea.
Yeah, and you know what? Eden called it when she threw to the break, and she said, I could have told you this, like, don't look at a clock when you're trying to sleep. That's exactly what these researchers are finding. They interviewed about 4,000 people, and they asked them about when they were taking medications to help them sleep and what kinds of things they were doing in the night. And they found this really tight correlation between looking at the clock, doing the math on how many more hours you have, and then taking those pills that help you get to sleep, because people sort of turn to the medications when they've been looking at a clock too much. And so the advice from these sleep researchers, it's not rocket science here, get the clock out of the room, get your phone out of the room, get your smartwatch out of the room, whatever it is, so that you're not doing that math, because that's not helping you sleep. It's just increasing your anxiety. And so once you get that clock out, hopefully you'll be getting a better sleep. Just make sure that the alarm part of it is still audible wherever you are, because if you put the alarm clock out of the room, you're going to get a better sleep, but you're going to miss your first
That's
meeting.
what I was going to say. Like, do these researchers not ever have to get up or wake up? Like, you need an alarm in order to wake up, which generally is connected in some way to a device that tells you the time.
I was just going to blame Dan for coming in for work late
Sorry,
tomorrow.
Dan. Yeah.
Dan.
Exactly. That's what we're meeting on
Riskin.
Tuesday instead of our regular Monday. I slept through it yesterday.
Well, another thing we're no stranger to here in Toronto is e-scooter traffic. Now, they were brought on in many cities, both in Canada and the U.S., to help limit congestion. And it seems like they've actually been benefiting the economy as a whole.
This is wonderful. So sometimes where you have an invention that's supposed to solve one problem, and then it has these unintended consequences where it helps with a different problem. I love that when it happens. I mean, sometimes it goes bad, but here's an example of it going really well. E-scooters were introduced in a whole bunch of different cities around the same time. And so experimenters they took about 50 cities with scooters and about 50 cities without scooters and just compared how their restaurant economies were doing. And they found that those e-scooters created a boost for restaurants. It was easier to get to restaurants, so more people were ordering food. And so they estimate that having scooters in the city boosts restaurant sales by about 5%. And each scooter was worth about $180 of extra spending on food per year. So those scooters, they weren't meant to improve the economy, but it turns out they do. So bring them on.
That is really interesting. I'm sure restaurants are going to start sort of like offering them up to people or something. Yeah, that's
Sure.
wild. All right, Dan, final topic here. This was really curious. Researchers have found out what's really going on inside a baby's brain when you talk to a little one. And how do they figure this out?
Yeah, well, so what they did is they put devices on the babies, basically like the baby's holding a phone in a pocket, and that listened to how much kids were being talked to, and then they compared across 160 different babies to see if there was any correlation between the number of words they were hearing and how their brains were developing. So the babies were then they're so cute. They put those babies into a brain scanner, and they were able to find that the babies who are hearing more language have more what's called myelin on their neurons. And so it's almost like a coating on the neurons that makes the signals travel faster. And so it's like it's supercharging their brains as they develop. And so this is added evidence that talking to babies really benefits them. You can see it in the structure of their brains. And the people this is really important for are for new parents, especially who have, a new baby and the distraction of a phone. When you're on your phone, you talk less to your baby. And this is research that shows how important it is for new parents, especially. Put that phone away and just interact with your baby as a way of spending the time. Because when you're looking at the device, you're robbing your baby of brain cell development. I mean, it's such a critical window. And so it really points a picture to we really need to spend as much time talking to our babies as we can.
Now, is it baby talk or is it real talking that actually helps them?
It's a great question. They don't break down the difference between goo goo gaga, who's the little cute baby, and also just people talking in the room or having a TV on in the room and things like that. But the other research from other studies shows that it's really the back and forth that really is the magic for babies. So a baby picks something up and you say, "Oh, what do you have there? You have a little something?" And then the baby smiles at you and you smile back, or it makes a funny noise and you make that noise back. That back and forth is where their brains really kick into gear. And so that's the magic you're looking for.
So talking to the baby is the new play classical music for the baby, Dan. That's what I'm hearing here. And,
Exactly.
Because that was the whole thing. Play classical to get your kid really smart. Or baby, I'm sure you had the baby Mozart or the baby Beethoven and all that for your kids, right? We all did that. And all right, but talk to them. That's the thing. Dan Riskin, always good to talk to you. Bit different doing it on a Tuesday morning, but this is great. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Okay, take care. Thanks a lot.
What song is that? Yo, that's crazy if that's my songs. I dead.
Let me try it again.
That's a musical prodigy right there. You're looking at Much Music's new installment of Intimate and Interactive with artist A Boogie with a Hoodie ahead of touring across Canada this June. Now, for more on the live streaming series, we're joined by Much Music VJ and the host of Intimate and Interactive, Kwesi Kwarko-Fosu. Good morning, Kwesi.
Good morning. Hey, I was hitting that in the clarinet, you know. I was hitting that joint. I felt good, you know.
I mean, it sounded good to me. I could tell what song it was. So I don't know, maybe just like an off day for A Boogie. But I want you to tell us a little more about the series. Fans of it in the past, we've seen Destiny's Child, Spice Girls go on, and now you guys are kind of bringing it back.
Yeah, we're bringing it back, and it's pretty cool because we're bringing it back with a live audience as well. So we have a few more coming soon. I can't talk about it much, but this series it's going to be a series that we hopefully can like bring it back to how it was back in the day. Obviously, it was tough with the pandemic and things had to be shut down, but now we're slowly bringing things back up. So maybe soon, hey, a big I&I might come soon and everyone will be outside like it was back in the day.
I was going to say, and everyone really does hold those memories dear when you see the crowds up and down Queen West. Everyone kind of sneak a peek at whoever's performing. Tell me what it was like being with A Boogie and kind of like chatting with him.
Honestly, it was crazy because in 2019, one of my best friends, Isaiah, we listened to A Boogie all the time, and like we went to New York together, and everybody in the streets are just listening to A Boogie because he's that guy, you know. So you never think you would ever get a chance to sit down and talk to him. But one of his songs is called "Just Like Me." He's just like me, you know what I was saying? He's a sick guy. So it was great to just talk to him because we're also around the same age. So a lot of the stuff that he's been through in life, I can relate to as well. And yeah, honestly, this is probably one of the best A Boogie interviews on the internet that's going to drop because we share the same hobbies. We share the same hobbies. Like we talk about gaming, we talk about life. I don't got a kid yet, but you know, he talks about fatherhood, and I can't relate to that, but it was cool to hear from him.
Well, that was the nice thing about that I&I experiences, right? You kind of get a really intimate look at your favorite artists, and maybe you weren't a fan of them before, but after you do become a fan of them. And it's streaming on TikTok is very smart, in my opinion. And Much Music's platform on social media, really being social media, you're kind of staying ahead of the trends online. So we were hoping you could walk us through what TikTok users are kind of doing nowadays when it comes to these online platforms. What are the tricks of the trade? Wow. What are we looking ahead to in the summer?
Okay, let me think. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. So the first one, I would say that a lot of people are doing on TikTok right now is CapCut. That's what everybody is using right now. CapCut and TikTok, I don't know what deal they have, but they've been going crazy together. And in the summer, like it's very easy to integrate that into your videos. So CapCut is one of them. But also, which has just been taking over the world, taking over social media, AI is going to take over this summer. I don't know how, I don't know what they're going to do, but they're using it for everything now. They're using it to create, to turn yourself into an anime character. They're making Drake songs out of it, which I feel bad for Drake, but you know, so that. Now, I am a Much Music VJ, so one last thing, I'll think about some music artists I'll probably have some trends in the summer. I'm gonna guess Coil Ray and Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's on tour right now.
Right.
And Coil Ray, she's dropping an album this summer. She has a little dance moves, you know what I'm saying? So like, if as a VJ, I gotta pick some music trends, so those would be those two.
Of course, and she had Players, that was a big, I think she just went platinum as well, which is amazing.
Yeah.
We just saw her, I think, in Toronto fairly recently at Rebel.
Yeah, she was going crazy, shaking on his crazy. Shout out Koi though, because I did my first I&I with her too, so it's really cool to talk to those people, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, that's Kwesi Kwarko-Fosu. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, well, certainly one of the harsh realities for many living in the city, looking for your living spaces, is that you have to think inside the box, and sometimes those boxes kind of feel like boxes. A home decor expert, though, has made it her mission to help turn smaller spaces into happy homes. Alexandra Gator and Graham Hayes, welcome to CP24 Breakfast. Glad you're here this morning to sort of help us through this. So many people, I mean, just look around downtown Toronto. The number of condos popping up in the sky, and some people feel like they're kind of living in shoeboxes. You're going to help people make the most and feel the most, I suppose, from their space. So
exactly.
What are we going to show us here today, Alexandra? What are we getting into? Paint, clearly.
Yeah, we use paint in every single makeover we do, I would say.
Even if the wall's already white?
Yeah, we paint it white.
Paint it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And what we found is usually, you know, studio apartments are small. There's not defined spaces.
No.
Okay.
So the kitchen bleeds into the living room, and we like to use paint to create a clear visual divide.
Okay.
But how do you get that crisp line? Graham's going to show you.
Show us this, Graham. Yeah.
All right. Well, to create like a nice crisp divide is you first want to put a line on the wall. And in order to get like a nice straight line, you can use a straight edge, level, but we like to use a laser level. It's one of those tools
It's
that
like
your
the
dad...
best
These are
tool.
great. I have one.
Best
These are
tool.
really good.
Your dad never had one, but this is like something that the kids have.
Yeah.
You put a laser level up on the wall, draw a line with a pencil, and then you put the painter's tape against the pencil mark.
Okay. This is a step-by-step process.
This is a Martha
For the magic
Stewart.
of television.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so when you put the painter's tape on the wall, you're going to want to seal the edge. But we've noticed that over the, you know, how many makeovers we've done that it's never sealed perfectly.
Like the paint bleeds
It
under
bleeds
the
in
tape.
even, okay. Yeah.
And then it looks
You don't want
not
that.
great.
Yeah.
No, so you're going to want to find a paint that's a similar color to the paint that's already on the wall, and you're going to seal the edge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
With the white paint.
So you kind of match okay.
White paint
Yeah, I see.
or, you
So
know,
it
if
doesn't
it's-
matter if it bleeds. Because
Exactly. It's going to be white
Because you're
underneath.
creating a seal right there.
Yeah.
Right. Clever. Okay, I like that, Graham.
Okay.
And then we're bringing in...
Next slide, please.
So then once the white has dried,
Okay.
you'll see that it's sealed. It's sealed the tape.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you go in with your accent wall color.
But you're going to want to make sure that that white paint is already dry.
Yes.
Because you don't want the paints to
Can't
mix.
paint over paint.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've done this in the past, but you want to make sure you're staying on the painter's tape. You don't want to go over the painter's tape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know,
You can't be too reckless.
then you got to go back in with the white
Are
paint.
you ready to see this
I'm really ready
the
for this.
crispiest
Yeah, yeah.
line you've ever seen? Okay, Graham, do the honors.
Okay. This is
Do we
like...
need trumpets or anything?
Yeah, we need a drum roll.
Actually, it'd be best if you pulled it from your side.
Okay,
Okay, let's see it.
look at that.
To get like a perfectly straight, crisp line
That is so
every single
satisfying.
time.
That's
Right? That
so
is extremely
satisfying.
satisfying.
And you can use this trick for like baseboards, kitchen cabinets, whatever you're painting. I always go over the painter's tape with light-colored paint beforehand.
And in an open space, creating this like mini accent wall just helps divide a space. It's like, okay, this is the living room, that's the kitchen.
Right.
And you can still have you can still have an accent wall in a small space.
You're sort of defining your space, even if it's like a 500 square foot space, which may feel like
Exactly.
just one big space. You can kind of divvy it up and
You don't
kind
need
of put it
walls.
through. Yeah.
Paint
You could
is
even
great.
do like a small little chunk of color around a TV or something.
Exactly.
So
Or,
speaking of that, you've painted the walls, but what about wall art? I think
Yeah.
that's the next big step here.
Yeah, we also use paint to create really budget-friendly wall art. I just did this in my parents' home, actually. We used a drop sheet that Graham had in the workshop.
just a regular painter's canvas drop
Okay.
sheet.
Yeah, framed it in an IKEA frame. We took out the plexiglass to get more of that texture coming through, and just painted with a mini roller, color of choice. And it looks
Just-
like
that's
textured
just straight on.
and organic.
Yeah.
Took me
$4
2
drop
minutes.
sheet from the dollar store.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a really simple, easy hack. An IKEA frame, a dollar store drop sheet,
Exactly.
and a bit of your own whatever color you
Elbow
like.
grease?
Now, do you recommend? Do you recommend that the color you choose definitely differentiates from the color already on the walls? Like,
For sure,
You
and I
wouldn't put
think-
green on this wall.
Exactly. And if you're nervous about picking colors or venturing into painting your wall, this is a great alternative. Just have a pop of color on those white walls.
Yeah, it's fun. I like that. It's a great idea. Now let's talk paint colors. We got about a minute to go. What
Yes.
are the big colors for this season coming up here?
We're seeing lots of creamy whites,
Okay.
taupes, not pure whites, but like creamy whites. Green. Green is
Lots of
really
greens.
big. And dusty pink.
Dusty pink.
But making it sophisticated with brown undertones, gray undertones. You don't want to go too pastel with it.
You know what's funny? Talking about this, I had a condo in Toronto about 20 odd years ago, and it was a 700 square foot condo. The whole thing was painted this green. And I
love that.
realized looking at this how dark and bad that idea was, how I should have distinguished it with some whites or whatever else and
Right.
broken it up, right? Because
But
I
that's
mean,
a vibe too, going all dark and
no, it
moody.
was terrible.
Dark
It
and
was
moody, but
honestly,
also the bright colors reflect light and makes it
Yeah.
brighter. So.
yeah, exactly. No, this is really great. This is really helpful. So where can people sort of, you've got your book, which you were telling me was a bestseller in Canada.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. Where can people find you? Where can people find the book? Things like
Yeah,
that.
we upload almost every Saturday on YouTube. So at Alexandra Gator on Instagram, and my book is sold everywhere that books are sold.
Right. Okay. I really recommend checking out those videos because some of them are quite long. Like you really get involved with the people you're working with and dealing with.
Television
yeah, it is. They're like 30 minutes basically, right?
Yeah.
But they're good. You have some shorter ones as well. But it's really helpful, really informative, and really fun as well. And I like the budget friendly and the sort of condo small size friendly. Graham Alexander, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate
Thanks for having
that.
us.
It's a moment that fans of World Wrestling Entertainment and Bret Hart have been waiting for. The official unveiling of his star on Canada's Walk of Fame happening in just a few hours' time outside Roy Thompson Hall. And the best there was, the best there is, and the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart is making a stop this morning live on CP24 Breakfast. Bret, it is such an honor to have you sitting on our couch. This is a surreal moment for me because I grew up watching wrestling, and I must admit I had a crush on you. I mean, who didn't? You are by far one of my favorites. But talk about what this honor means to you. I mean, you were inducted in 2021, but today, actually being there, having your star unveiled along with many other great people like Keanu Reeves, what does that mean to you?
It's just to me, it's like the final. It's like just a great way to cap off my whole career. You know, it's always one thing to be recognized in your field by people in your field, like other wrestlers and stuff like that, and get credited for that. But to get, rated sort of accredited in your whole country as a Canadian, it's a little bit of a different honor.
Yeah, I mean, you're truly an icon. Wrestling in the day of, the 80s, 90s, and even up until when The Rock made his debut, it was really kind of like you guys were gods, gladiators in the arena. And you talk about how the sport of professional wrestling is probably the most challenging job as not just an actor, but as an athlete. Can you talk more about that?
Well, I mean, for so many years, and really until, maybe the late 80s, we never really got credit in wrestling for being great performers or great entertainers or great athletes. We're great actors. Mm-hmm. We got credit for being nothing. Like we were a little bit of all of that.
Yeah.
And we never really got credit for any of it. And now I think all these years later, I think you realize that there was so many talented people working in wrestling industry, from Rock and Stone Cold and myself and Hulk Hogan and different guys that all left their own sort of tattoo on the business, or the profession. But I'm quite proud to say I still believe I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And I don't think anybody ever did it better than I did.
Yeah.
Really proud of my career, always have been. Proud of my whole lifetime in wrestling and my relationship with my fans worldwide. I mean, I still feel so many fans appreciate everything I did that it makes me feel today when I wake up, when I'm so beat up and my body's all beat up, that it was worth it, that I made a difference for a lot of people. It's a very special honor to be a Saturday morning wrestling hero for kids growing up back in the 80s and 90s. To turn on your TV and watch me as a hero was such a privilege for me, and to be allowed to be that hero to so many people internationally and nationally in Canada. And I think for Canadians, I represented the whole country, which is nice.
Yeah, you certainly did.
And not very often we get a guy from Calgary representing the whole country. So it was nice, and I think it's always been something special to me being from Calgary, to know how great the fans have always been for me in Toronto, for example, and Montreal, where they maybe love me more than they did in my hometown, and Vancouver and different parts of Canada, even Winnipeg. Yeah. I always wrestled really hard for my Canadian fans. I don't know that I ever had a bad match in Canada. I always gave 100%, and I think that's how I look back on it. And I think honors like this today are just that appreciation for everything that I threw into it, and everything I put into it.
Yeah, at the celebration in Calgary, you talked about quoting American-Canadian novelist John Irving about how you have to having the courage to do what you love to do is something else. And you certainly found that courage as the good guy. But going back to your younger years, you know, you come from a wrestling family. Your dad, Stu, trained a lot of great wrestlers. And you said that at 5 years old, you never imagined that you would be one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. So, Brett, before we let you go, I wish we had more time. Talk about what you're going to be doing with the $10,000 donation that Canada's Walk of Fame is kind of giving you to donate to a charity. You've picked two special ones.
I picked a charity that gives back to the native people and helps them with their water. I think that was in Manitoba. I'm not sure of the province now. It's a few months ago, but I know that I wanted to reach out and see if I could donate something or make it symbolic for the Native community that's always been so supportive of me and my family and my career.
Okay. Well, Bret Hart, congratulations once again. This is truly an honor to have you here, and we wish you the best of luck in everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.